Welcome back. So in this video we're going to talk about the company description. Now this is kind of a small area of the overall business plan, but it's like one of the most important ones. This is where you got to tell a little bit of that story. Again, you've already got the problem and opportunity and solution statements in your executive summary, but you also want to make sure you include them in the company description. Tell the story of how this business came to be. And I'd say spend a little time on that. Spend a paragraph writing it out if you're doing kind of an actual formal business plan as a document. And if you're doing like a slide deck, include at least a bullet on that slide deck and then tell the audience how the business came to be. That's so important, right? Now some people also like to put the company description before industry analysis. That's okay too, right? I mean, I've given you some orders, ways of doing things here. But this isn't like magical, right? I like putting the company description after the industry analysis because you give broader industry trends, what you're trying to do, and then how it fits into the market. That's kind of my train of thought. But make it yours, right? That's what matters the most. So tell me the story. What's the problem, the opportunity, and then the solution that you're trying to solve? Tell me like some sort of a cool anecdote of how you got here. And of course, tell me kind of how long you've been operating. You've been operating for 5 years, and maybe just some of the things that you've done along the way, right? Help the reader become acclimated to you and what you're doing. Make sure you include like a mission and vision statement. And if you're thinking, well, I don't know how to write a mission and vision statement. Well, I'll talk about this later on this channel, but what you can also do is look at peer companies in the same industry. So let's say, I don't know, you're in the restaurant industry. You can look at what are the two biggest restaurant companies out there? There's Darden and McCormick and Schmick's, I think, are the two largest restaurant companies in the U.S., right? Look at theirs, or maybe even take like a different restaurant brand, whatever. Look at their company websites, go to their company websites, and if you go under corporate governance and investor relations, you can actually click down and that'll tell you the company and company's vision and mission statements if you haven't found it somewhere else on the website. And if all else fails and you still can't find it, go to corporate governance/investor relations, pick up the phone and call somebody and ask what is the company's vision and mission statements, right? And that can give you can kind of compare what they're doing and then compare it to what you think you might like to do. I think that's a really good exercise to do, is look at what others in your particular industry group are doing. Of course, this is the thing people forget to do. Tell me just a little bit about the products and the services that you're going to offer, right? Now, it doesn't have to be super complicated because, again, when we start getting into things like design, development plan, and some of that stuff, you can give a little more detail there. But tell me at least in layman's terms what it is your business does. At this time, you might also talk about what you're working on and if there's any problems, right? And I say this is one of the obstacles that we've run into. We need more funding for X. Again, you think about who's going to be reading your business plan, bankers, venture capitalists. This is the time to kind of invite them into your business plan and kind of give them an indication of where their financial contributions or their expertise may fit into what you're trying to do, right? Of course, that's also important for communicating with internal stakeholders too, right? You can at least see maybe a new employee can read that company description and see what you're having trouble with and say, hey, I've got an idea just to help you with this problem that you've identified in the company description. Here's what I think, right? So the company description can include any of those issues. Of course, legal status and ownership, right? Who are the owners of this firm? Right? Are you a publicly traded company? Are there stocks that are being sold? Things like that. And of course, legal status, right? Are you a LLC, a B Corp, a sole proprietorship? There's a whole slew of choices that you need to make here, and make sure you articulate that carefully. Again, that's important for internal and external stakeholders. And if you have any key partnerships, not every firm will, but if you have any key partnerships, so for example, you have a special relationship with a supplier. Some of your biggest customers include these long-term contracts like with the city, the state, this particular customer group, things like that. I always laugh, I like to look at stocks of different companies. And there's a company called the Coca-Cola Bottling Corporation. Does anyone have any idea what their main line of business is? If you guessed that they make bottles for the Coca-Cola company, you probably would have guessed right. So for them, they would include in the company description that their main customer is the Coca-Cola company, and that's like attached at the hip kind of partnership, and you'd want to describe that relationship. Okay, so again, spend some time here. I say if you're actually writing out a business plan, you know, a page, maybe two is appropriate, just on this, because it's so important. If you're doing, of course, a slide deck, you know, one slide with some bullets, and then talk your audience through it. I think that'll be sufficient. Great, I hope you've enjoyed this video. In our next video, we're going to talk about market analysis. As always, give me a thumbs up, that's like a like. You can also comment down below, and then make sure you subscribe. And as I mentioned, our next video will be market analysis. Great, I'll see you in the next video.